I think, listen, Donald does well with voters who have relatively low information, who are not that engaging, who are angry, and they see him as an angry voice.
Intellectual Froglegs is brought to you by you.
This one's a classic. Jordan the Centipede taught me a card trick.
Some people bad, some people good. Too bad the bad can't be like the good. But everything changes a little and it should. Good ain't forever and bad ain't for good.
Because every once in a while, the lion has to show the jackals who he is.
You know, my former boss said I intimidated people, so I stared him down until he apologized. You know what, first let's start out with this. When you start seeing new scandals pop up after the voting started, against the front runner, who's hated by the media and the establishment, well, I hate to disparage anybody's character, but it's probably not true. You know what, there's a lot of people out there that are offended that we're supporting Donald Trump because of his behavior. We're not supporting him because of his behavior. Look, it's like this. You've got a beautiful home, you go away for a vacation and you come back home and you find out that you see your basement's been infested with raccoons, and not little cute ones, but hundreds of mean, rabid, messy raccoons, and they're destroying your home. You call the city, they don't do anything. You call 4 different exterminators and they do nothing. You send professional after professional who promised to get rid of the raccoons, and now there's more than ever. The problem's worse than ever. Then you find a guy who can actually do the job. You don't care if he smells bad. You just want the raccoons gone. You don't care if he has bad language. Say what you want to say, brother. You don't care if he's an alcoholic. You don't care how many times he's been married. You don't care if he has a plumber's crack. No. Your home's being destroyed, and the problem has to be fixed. And this is the guy who can do it. And this is why we support Donald Trump. And welcome to Intellectual Froglegs. To the dismay of the establishment, Trump survived Bloody Thursday, which was actually March 3rd. That was the day they hit Trump with everything. So they hit him with everything. And it was just full of half-truths and blatant lies. And since you're not going to see corrections probably very many other places, we're going to hit a few of them real quick here. Just hours before the debate on this Bloody Thursday, they bring out Mitt Romney to insult Trump. And Mitt just repeated verbatim Marco Rubio's robotic list of why I hate Trump with those creepy little hands. But Romney made a fool out of himself. He was aiming at Trump, but he hit the GOP. Because, if Romney really wanted to hurt Trump, he should have endorsed him.
A business genius, he is not. Donald Trump has shown an extraordinary ability to understand how our economy works, to create jobs for the American people.
Where's my Grey Poupon, lovey? And, irony can be delicious at times. While Mitt Romney was up there hammering Trump as being a bad businessman, hammering him over his bankruptcies, one of Mitt's companies, Sports Authority, was filing its own bankruptcy.
The new polls you have here, 63% of Republican voters are against the Republican establishment in Washington. This guy has tapped right into that. The Republican establishment and the elites are doing every single thing that can take them out, and it's not even putting a dent in. It's like shooting at him with a BB gun, and he's shooting back with a bazooka.
Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling.
Then later on in the day at the Fox News ambush, poorly disguised as the debate, and I only bring this stuff up because the Democrats are going to use it too, but in pursuit of Donald Trump's scalp, Chris Wallace, Brett Baer, and Megyn Kelly used every cheap trick in the book. None of the other candidates were hit with these slideshow graphics, just Trump. Next slide, please.
Numbers don't add up. Please put up full screen number 4. The Education Department, you talk about cutting.
They said that the plaintiffs against you are like the Madoff victims. This is what the Court of Appeals said. They found that victims of con artists often sing the praises of their victimizers until...
And then, you know, on at least 3 occasions, Trump's opponents were invited to attack him. Trump was never given the same courtesy, but then, with our country collapsing economically and otherwise, they focus on a frivolous lawsuit against Trump University.
And that's what Donald has done throughout his career. Well, he did. That's why Trump University is so relevant here.
When they got the information, it became an A.
With respect, we went back and looked at this.
Yes.
The rating from the Better Business Bureau was a D-. That's the last publicly available rating.
But just like Candy Crawley interjected herself into the debate with wrong information, Megyn Kelly did the same thing with Trump University's Better Business rating. Contrary to the a litigator/talk show host, Trump University did earn an A. Absolutely.
And this says that Trump Entrepreneur Initiative, on a scale of A to F, has an A rating, and he wanted me to show that, and he's right.
So dishonest, so dishonest. You know, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and Megyn Kelly, they are all lawyers, and they're all litigators, and despite knowing better, they brought ongoing litigation onto the national stage. Now, they're supposed to be officers of the court. Careful, don't bump your head on a fact.
We're not gonna take it, no, we ain't gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore.
Then let's go to that general who said the troops will never follow Trump's orders. You know, when people hear the word general, you know, people like myself who respect the military, we think of a tough dude, above reproach, who loves his country. But this guy, this general, is one of those celebrity generals. You know, if he was on Bill Maher's show, he loves America.
Instead of the bell at the debate, you should have Rand Paul off the, mic, just go, Marco, Marco, Marco.
Then you had Ted Cruz say that Donald Trump had given Hillary Clinton 4 checks in 2008. Well, according to the Federal Election Commission, that's not true. But that's just like when Ted Cruz said Donald Trump loved Obamacare and the mandate and that Trump's health care was going to be basically the same thing as Obamacare.
Donald Trump, right now today, as a presidential candidate, is advocating full-on socialized medicine, expanding Obamacare.
Unlike these other lawyers that are running for president, Donald Trump has actually released his plan, and he released it before the Detroit debate. That's why nobody said anything. Because it's awesome. It's awesome. Free market reforms. Free market reforms doesn't sound like government-controlled health care. Full repeal of Obamacare. No mandate. Health savings accounts. Insurance premiums fully deductible, and will require price transparency from all healthcare providers. That's huge. And I'll tell you about that one later, but that's huge. And probably the biggest factor in lowering the price, and you know what, unlike these experts up there, my family has actually been in the insurance industry for decades and decades. But the biggest factor in lowering the prices is removing those state boundaries. The ones Marco was making fun of. Oh, the little lines. Yeah, the little lines, you ignorant jerk. That's how you open up competition. Then you let the market take over. The companies will determine the plans based on what we want.
I anticipate supporting one of the three, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, or John Kasich as our nominee.
But we may be in a position where have to rally around Ted Cruz is the only way to stop Donald Trump.
Hey, who hates cigarettes?
I do.
Hooray for you.
But now it's Marco the insult Chihuahua or something. You know, I mean, I thought he was going to hump Trump's leg over there during the debate. But him and Cruz, man, they were like the Cuban law firm of Heckle and Jekyll. They were circling Trump like a couple of jackals. And then Trump was like a juicy wildebeest. They unloaded on Trump. They hit him with everything that's been posted on the internet since 1999. And I'm telling you, Trump held his own against these two D.C. lawyers.
I know you're embarrassed. I know you're embarrassed. But keep fighting. Keep swinging, man. Swing for the fences.
He held his own against these professional politicians who were shaking hands behind his back. That ain't cool, man.
And you know what they say about men with small hands?
Rubio, I'm almost afraid to talk against now because I thought I knew him a week ago. I didn't know him at all. He is a nasty piece of work.
But anyway, apparently Marco's advisors have morphed him into this insult comic, and it ain't working. It ain't working. He can't, you see, Trump can do that stuff because that's Trump being Trump. Some people have that gift, some don't. Marco don't. Another one that had it, Don Rickles, was great at it.
You, Governor, are a great man. You can tell because you don't see many governors with clip-on bow ties.
He could insult everybody. It doesn't matter, Jews and blacks and Puerto Ricans.
To you, my good friend Freddie Prince, who's your buddy, and we need the Puerto Rican people, I quote the words of a great Puerto Rican, Manuel Hatesis, who said to me in New York, "You want more coffee?" I laugh at the blacks, the whites, the purples, mostly the blacks.
You know what? It was never mean-spirited, and everybody still loved him. You know what? This is hands down the ugliest primary season I've ever experienced. I mean, emotions are off the chart, friends are turning on each other, but you know what? I don't remember having such guarded optimism for our country during election time. And everything is just so fluid, and I'm telling you, this is the most difficult time I've ever had writing the script for this show. But I don't want the show to reflect the anger that's out there. Man, it's nasty. You know what? In just a few weeks, it ain't gonna matter. We're all gonna have to hug and kiss and make up, and because our goal is to beat Hillary Clinton. We cannot let that woman become president. She needs to be in jail. And they can't blame Donald Trump for this insanity. It wouldn't be happening if the GOP establishment would stop behaving like spoiled children. And now we got these grown-up rich kids looking for any way to destroy Trump. And their supporters are falling right in line. You know, you must really think someone's horrible to prefer the establishment.
Don't be small, Mitt. Remember our history. Remember when we were fed up with a monarchy? Be careful. Be very, very careful. Do not disrespect the man who makes sense to us, because when you disrespect him, you disrespect the will of the American people. And that's not a good place to be.
They're not conservative. When I hear Governor Romney in his speech last week talk about how the Republican Party must stand for legitimate conservative values, they don't. That's why they're in the problem. They're having the problem they're having. They're not conservative. They're being run by their donors.
This is just what the doctor ordered.
And you know, most all those Alinsky tactics that the Democrats have used against conservatives and that they've complained about for the last 7 years are the very tactics that the Republicans are now using against Donald Trump. Playing the race card as conservative now? Really? Playing the race card against the one candidate that's bringing in record numbers of minorities?
And you need to vote for Donald J. Trump.
And for the establishment or these intellectual conservatives to be against Trump and actively working against him, I believe it's absolutely insane.
And twisting and contorting words out of context, then yelling liar, that's conservative, that's conservative. Did you ever see the Republican Party rise up and fight like this against Obama? Hold some secret meetings against Obama? No, you did not. And do you think they'll actually rise up and fight against Hillary? No, they will not. No, they will not. And I agree with what Laura Ingraham says. She says, the establishment's not afraid that Trump can't beat Hillary. They're afraid that he will. You know what, those of us that support Donald Trump, well, we do so because of common sense reasons, which are radically different than political reasons, obviously. Each of these candidates is applying for the world's most important chief executive job. And it includes not just overseeing and managing the world's largest and most complex economy, but at this point in our history, the next president is going to have to save it from total collapse. That ain't no joke. It's been unsustainable for the last 6 years. And then you have these political hacks saying, we don't need a CEO. The last thing we need is a CEO. Of course you need a CEO, idiot. It's the executive branch. And if you've never served in the capacity of executive, I mean, it's hard. It's hard. Your very first executive job should not be President of the United States. I mean, if you've never, ever had to meet a payroll, have you built anything? Where'd you get all that money? Who gave it to you, and what are the conditions? Why are these questions unimportant? Why are these questions unimportant? Well, that answers the question why Donald Trump gets a pass, because those common sense questions are not unimportant to us. You know what? And when we see Donald Trump, we don't see a politician. A man is not going to live his entire successful lifetime dreaming of one day being a politician at age 70. Really? No. We see a fellow citizen that's fed up just like us. Well, except in this case, he's got worldwide fame. He's richer than most countries and has balls the size of church bells. And from the I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you department, almost without exception, the people who support these lawyer politicians, which is all the other candidates but Trump, they don't seem to appreciate how serious our economic situation is. I was talking to the supporter of another candidate, and he insisted that our dire economic situation is something that will solve itself simply by electing a Republican. Where do they even come up with this? Apparently, we need to remind you that the last Republican president, George W. Bush, increased the debt more than every other president before him combined. And now he's second only to Obama in creating debt.
That's good.
But we can go deeper than that. In fact, no president in my lifetime, regardless of party, has ever left the office with less debt than when he came in. And so So it doesn't really matter which politicians we send to the Oval Office, Democrat or Republican. When it comes to the debt, the result is always the same. So tell me, is now learning from history not conservative either? One fun aspect of a Donald Trump presidency, the thought of Congress sending Donald Trump a 2,000-page bill that they've not read. Comedy gold. That will be comedy gold. Of course he can't fire him, but they may wish that he could. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please stop by the website at intellectualfroglegs.com. Sign up for the show alerts and donate if you can. Froglegs are free to watch, but they're not free to make. And if you're too broke to donate, well, we're probably cousins. You know what? Froglegs is 100% viewer funded. Very proud of that. Very proud of that. And please share the show with everybody you can. And I hope you come back for the next rough and tumble episode of Intellectual Froglegs. God bless.
You don't know me, but I'm your brother. I was wasted. Take this message.